What's your angle on land? What do you, in your personal business, how do you approach it?
So when I first got started, it was doing infill lots. And I think that was probably the easiest natural progression for me to get started because I was already doing single family houses, wholesaling, take the house off, and then you're just left with the lot, but you're still within the neighborhood. You're still within the same due diligence processes and procedures that we would do for a house, just scrape the entire structure off of it. So when I first got started, I was doing the single family infill lots, and I love infill lots for so many reasons. But for people that are listening to this and they're like, okay, how do I get started? What's the fastest way for me to be able to do this? In my opinion, an infill lot can be one of the fastest types of properties when we're talking about cash conversion cycle to get funded, like closed and funded. And so in comparison to like a subdivide where you may take 12 months to 3 years, it just depends on the type of subdivide you're doing. With an infill lot, I mean, you can, like I said, I've closed an infill lot in 12 days. Sometimes it'll take a month, 2 months. I haven't really seen things go much longer than 3 months when you're talking about infill lots. And so the first probably 3 years of my business, we did infill lots. Now I'll tell you this, Brandon, a lot of people in the land space, you'll hear this often said, it takes just as much effort to do a small deal as it takes to do a big deal. I think that's true in some aspects. I don't think it's the same amount of effort to flip an infill lot as it does to do a subdivide or an entitlement. So I
Yeah.
think that you have to take that with a grain of salt. But I know a lot of people that won't touch infill lots because they're like, oh no, I want to do bigger deals. And I'm like, okay, what are you talking about bigger deals? Like larger acreage? Is that what excites you? And usually it's always about, no, the money. I want a bigger return. And it always makes me laugh because there's just this thought out there that you can't make a lot of money on infill lots. Now, I'll throw this little mini case study out. So I have a student in my coaching program, very first deal ever. Now, like I said, I like to start people with infill lots if they haven't done a lot of land deals. And so her very first deal, she was from the insurance sector. She's working full time. We got her rolling with a marketing campaign. Her very first deal that she got is down in Florida. She got it locked up for $75,000. This is an infill lot within a gated community, I think. 75K is the buy price, and she will be able to bring it to market at 195. So it's a hundred,
Yeah.
yeah, right. It's $125,000 net profit on an infill lot. So I'm like, don't sleep on infill lots. So long story, long answer. I started doing infill lots and then we started adding in rural recreational property as well as subdivides. And so now I'm doing far less infill lots and we're just doing our longer term cash conversion cycle subdivides now.
Awesome. And don't sleep on Florida also. The property down there is hot with those
Oh my
flipping
gosh,
infill wild, huh?
huge. And
Yeah.
it's so funny. So you just mentioned hot market. I know so many people, or I hear this all the time. Oh, I can't go there. It's saturated.
Hmm.
There's too much competition. And I think that if you are in a market that has a lot of other people in it, it's probably because it's a good market. That doesn't really scare me. I think that when it comes to being in hot markets, trying to survive in hot markets, one of the best things that you can do is just make sure that your client experience is the number one thing that is going to differentiate you from everyone else, right? Because we see in these super saturated markets, like down in Florida, like we'll talk to an owner and they're like, oh, yeah, this is the 15th call I've got today on my property. And it's fantastic. Why haven't you sold it yet? And we start really getting down to the nitty gritty of the fact that, like, a lot of competition can't close on the property. They don't really know what they're doing. They just send a letter, they won't follow up. And I think that if you put the customer first and you build in processes and systems that allow them to know and trust you while you're educating and nurturing that lead, you'll get the lead or you'll get that deal 9 times out of 10. It doesn't matter how much competition is out there because we often get contracts on properties where we're not the highest bidder. So it's not always price and a competitive market.